Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of May 16th to the 22nd of 2022. Alright, so this week we are coming off of a lunar eclipse which just took place late Sunday and early Monday coming into this week. And so it certainly is a beginning of the week for making any shifts and changes along our life path. If you haven't yet seen that lunar eclipse video, do check it out. But this week is very much about implementing any insights around that time period and also, again, implementing any of these shifts and changes which we often make during these life path changes of the eclipse. Now this week we do have some important aspects. On Tuesday we have Mars going over Neptune. Mars is fire, Neptune is water, and so anything that does combine more of our drive, our action towards things that are more spiritual in nature or more important to us on a soul level, and perhaps incorporating things like compassion, receptivity, things like this is great. Now around Thursday, the sun will be trining Pluto, a bit of empowerment with that self-expression and just probably feeling empowered just in general. And then over the weekend on Saturday, Mercury retrograde will be going over the sun, marking the halfway point of the retrograde. So this can be some perhaps insights coming in about things we've been redoing or reconsidering during the retrograde. But all in all, this week is still good, of course, for doing that, trying new things, being a bit flexible, and going back and re-editing stuff with this Mercury retrograde. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, May 16th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You will notice a lot of the signs are different. For example, you might hear me say the constellation of Fucus. What is a Fucus? If you are new to this, definitely check out that link down below for more information on true sidereal astrology. All right, so let's do a bit of a recap coming into the week. Things are quite straightforward in terms of that recap because the fast-moving planets are basically just in two signs. So we have the Sun and Mercury in grounded Taurus, and we have Venus and Mars in receptive Pisces. So this is very much yin energy. Taurus is Earth. So our focus with the sun is on, at least it's very good right now, for anything that creates more stability in our life, steadiness, stopping to smell the roses, a bit of cultivating our inner and outer resources, also focusing on developing those inner and outer resources. And with that Mercury retrograde, of course, here, maybe re-examining our values and just in general being a bit flexible right now with that retrograde. Now, the water energy of Pisces is more of the interpersonal planets of Venus and Mars. These deal a lot with the interpersonal energies of life. So with Venus, we're probably enjoying and connecting to the more receptive aspects of life, maybe a bit of peace, a bit of tranquility, maybe a bit of that compassion, receptivity in those relationships. At least it's good to do so, especially with, again, Mars going over Neptune this week. But Mars in Pisces, it's very important for this next couple months to really take this more receptive approach to where we're putting our action. Right, Mars is fire. Mars is our needs. Mars is where we're setting goals and doing things. And Pisces is very much the oceans of life. So if we are fighting that current, if we are putting a lot of energy in a direction where we don't know where it's going and it's not with the current, and we're not guided to do it on a soul level, it can create lower energy. And it can dissipate our energy, help us feel, and make us perhaps feel a bit lost and confused. So the best way of working with this is, of course, to listen, to float sometimes, Sometimes inaction is the best action, and putting action towards where the current is already going is, of course, the most efficient thing. And so this kind of energy, I think, is great. And that's really that Mars conjunct Neptune. So as you can see here, the aspects this week, this is that Mars conjunct Neptune, this Tuesday, Wednesday time period. Then we have the Sun trining Pluto, a bit of that empowerment, and then that Mercury retrograde over the Sun. So let's go ahead and break it down each day of the week here, starting first with Monday. So Monday, we are still very much in that lunar eclipse energy. This early part of the week is very much about that lunar eclipse implementation. We will be in what's called the disseminating phase of the lunar cycle for the majority of this week, which is the energy coming off of that full moon / lunar eclipse. And so disseminating is just that. It's disseminating information, implementing it, right? Incorporating it. And we'll have a lot of support to do that. But in the early part of the week, around particularly that Monday, Tuesday, we're still very much in that lunar eclipse, full moon energy. And so, of course, it is always important, it's a very spiritual time to be aware of what's shifting and changing. This is a south node eclipse, so there's some karmic energy being released, and there's usually not so much to do during south node energy because it's receding, it's karmic resolution, it's things just patterns and whatnot being released. But the full moon itself is more yang, so it is about being aware of it, mindful of it, maybe incorporating things in our life that are about that past life, past energy that can now be incorporated in more constructive ways or healthier ways. So, of course, I made a video on that. So if you haven't yet seen that lunar eclipse video, do check that out. There's an MTZ Insiders email, and also you can also find that on YouTube, I think by this point, if not soon. Okay, so this is definitely the energy around that Monday. But Monday, the moon will be shifting from Libra into Scorpio, and then we'll be in a fucus on Tuesday. So Monday, Tuesday, we got some of that deeper energy. Again, makes total sense with the eclipse, and in this case, incorporating some of the real raw elements of what we really value in life on a deeper level. It's about connecting to life on a deeper level, allowing the moon, which is our emotions, to be exposed a bit, both personally, interpersonally, and in life. And in this way, we become aware of our deeper selves. It's an opportunity to embrace and reintegrate our deeper self, and also to do things that involve self-empowerment and personal transformation and healing as well, especially with Tuesday's fucus energy. So that's definitely very strong these first couple days of the week. And then from Tuesday into Wednesday, that fiery Mars over watery Neptune really just confirms what we were talking about earlier about Mars in Pisces, because of course Neptune is the ruler of Pisces. This is really just adding to that water energy. So yeah, the Tuesday, Wednesday in particular, there might be a new beginning. These conjunctions are essentially starting new cycles. And with Mars Neptune, it's about a 3-year cycle. And so new beginnings with more receptivity, with doing things that are more important to us on a soul level, maybe with spirituality, maybe with spiritual activities that are more active in nature as well, or things that are maybe just assertive and active that can lead to more peace in our life. But most importantly, it's taking that fiery side, the side that we all have, that has goals, drives, wants to put energy, wants to be assertive, wants to take, go after these things, is very Mars. But then combining that with the receptive, the compassionate, the willingness to let go of what's outside of our control, to go with the flow, so to speak, right? To do these, to put that action towards these things that are more spiritually meaningful and soul meaningful to us in life. And there's likely a new beginning coming out of this collectively. It's a great combination in the sense it's obviously challenging, as you can take away from the descriptions, because Mars and Neptune are very different energies, but it's a very important, very beautiful, very growth-oriented new beginning here. So anything on that level, great to set new intentions with, if there is literally new things, or again, just incorporating that kind of yang and yin, that active yet receptive, and seeing how we can combine that fire towards the more soul-fulfilling and spiritually fulfilling elements of life. All right, so that's very strong, probably the most important aspect of the week, in fact. It is very important. And so that'll be about that Tuesday, Wednesday. All right, and then here, middle part of the week, we are disseminating, again, insights from the full moon. And we have a trine between the sun and Pluto, and a sextile between Mercury and Jupiter. So the trine with Pluto and the sun is the most important aspect in that middle part of the week. And so in this case, feeling a bit empowered. Fundamentally, usually there's support from Pluto, the planet of change, of personal empowerment, of transformation, in very good harmony to the sun, which is a very fundamental part of ourselves and very much about our self-expression. So maybe it is easy to express ourselves, be who we are, empower ourselves to do things maybe we normally wouldn't do, all right, or express or create with the sun. So a lot of support for that. And Mercury now going with another sextile over Jupiter, now that Mercury's retrograde, is just a little bit of an opening again to have a little bit more of an open mind, I think, around the Thursday time. Could be very good for a little bit of the expanding of the mental horizons a little bit, which is always good anyways during a retrograde, because this is about approaching things differently. You know, this past week and now these next roughly couple weeks, approaching things a little bit differently in our life, especially in our routines, things we've relied on normally. It is good to kind of go back and redo those things, maybe do some maintenance, maybe do some editing, go back and kind of rework matters and expect things to be changing during the retrograde. So, a lot of astrologers will say don't do things during a retrograde. I don't believe that. I think it's a great time to do things. Just make sure you do have a plan A, B, C, and D. And the whole purpose of what you're doing during the retrograde, when it comes to your routines, when it comes to contracts, when it comes to technology, things you rely on a day-to-day level, is to simply be flexible. Have a plan A, B, C, and D. Be willing to learn, try new things, because we learn so much during these retrograde time periods. And so, so once we do get to that Thursday time period, the Wednesday. So Wednesday all the way up until late Friday, the moon will be in Sag. And so this middle part of the week, we do have this free-spirited energy. And, we get this once a month, obviously. But in this case, coming out of this deeper energy from Monday, Tuesday, we may be feeling a bit free-spirited, a bit expansive, a bit, again, open-minded and adventurous. At least it's good to develop a bit of that willingness to expand our mental and literal horizons here Wednesday through until about late Friday. Okay. Once we do get to the Saturday time period, the moon will shift into Capricorn. This is really late Friday, all day Saturday, and early Sunday. So the energy surrounding Saturday does have this Capricorn energy, which is very much about patience. It's very much like Saturn, patience, discipline, thinking long-term. So any responsibilities or any of that constructive approach to things we do want to take there around Saturday could be a good way of utilizing this moon in Capricorn. And again, this marks the halfway point of the retrograde. Now, the halfway point of the retrograde usually means we start to learn some things. Maybe we gain a new perspective on things. Anything that has been going through a reworking process this past week and a half prior to this conjunction, maybe takes a nice step in the right direction or starts to make sense. Maybe not always mentally, often it can, but just things start to flow a little bit more with it. We start to understand. We just know more of what to do, and so around this Saturday time, it is good to listen, and this is really listening in the again soul sense and inner sense, because this is what we would consider. Well, some would consider this a combust energy, even though Mercury is retrograde. But because Mercury is next to the sun can really drown out a lot of that Mercury energy. And so, it can fry the circuits a little bit, can make it hard to think about things. So it can have that challenge of not really understanding or not really having mental clarity as easily. It depends on the person. And by the way, if you have Mercury retrograde in your chart, Mercury retrogrades, you probably know, are very constructive times for you. But anyways, there is a bit of that sun dominance here, that fire. We can't see Mercury in the sky, right? So in that context, good to listen, see what emerges from this, but likely some nice shifts and changes of perspective and understanding with this conjunction here. Okay, so that's Tuesday there, and then once we do get to the Sunday time, Sunday the moon will be in Aquarius, and we do enter into that third quarter moon. So third quarter is a square between the sun and moon, but we're quite seasoned now in this lunar cycle. By the end of the week, we'll have been in this lunar cycle for about 3 weeks. So we spent a lot of energy here. It is an eclipse cycle, though, so it is, again, very transformative. There's lots of important shifts and changes happening. Lessons learned, karma being released, and all this. But in this case, good to challenge ourselves to, again, implement. So whereas the early part of the week, the middle part of the week rather, we're coming off that lunar eclipse. We have more of the support to disseminate, to gain the insights, perspectives. This very later part of the week, Sunday and into next week, early next week, it's we're probably having to take a little bit more of a challenging ourselves, but we're willing to do that usually during the third quarter, again being more seasoned in the cycle. So great time to do that though, Sunday and then into next week, Monday, Tuesday. Challenge ourselves to again implement what this whole lunar cycle is about for us. All right, so yeah, and then Aquarius, all in all, is just a bit about that progressiveness, that visionary energy, incorporating a bit of that unorthodox energy of life, which is very important, maybe challenging the status quo or our own status quo. And as you can see, it's just very different from the Taurus energy we have at the moment, which is more stable, well, good for stability, taking things a little bit slowly this time of the year. So how can we incorporate a bit of change, a bit of excitement, a bit of spontaneity in what is a very yin time, collectively with all these planets in Taurus and Pisces. All right, and then I will just mention as a side note, we do have a sextile here around Sunday. the Mars will be sextiling Pluto, and so there can be a bit more of that empowerment coming in. Now, sextiles are just openings; they're nothing major, but there certainly can be bursts of empowerment this week, feeling more empowered. Maybe again taking those actions in a way that feels empowered, expressing ourselves in a way that feels empowered. But again, early in the week, good to be very receptive to where we're putting our energy. All right, so that's a mouthful. There is a lot going on this week, I suppose, but put simply is we are coming off of this lunar eclipse, shifts and changes to the life path coming into the week, awareness, maybe some things being released. All right, it's a very yin energy with that lunar eclipse because it's the south node releasing. But from those shifts, from perhaps some insights or just for more clarity, great week for implementation of that. The Tuesday, Wednesday time period, good to be receptive in general with Mars over Neptune, that fire and water we talked about. Midweek, and even as we said, late week, feeling empowered because maybe there is some healing and transformation happening in the early part of the week that then moves us into feeling more free-spirited this middle part of the week with that moon in Sag, and more empowered with that sun trine Pluto. Then as we do get to that weekend, Mercury will be over the sun, marking the halfway point of the Mercury retrograde, which usually can mean some shifts and changes along whatever it is we've been reworking this past week and a half, or just having to be more flexible with this past week and a half. All right, so those are the most important things. Just a few things really I would say this week. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a newsletter where you do get these videos released first. It's absolutely free. There's a sign up link down below in the comment section. But have a great week, everyone. Thank you again, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.